Fastcast.
Hello, I'm Daniel Burbank from the studio. We're switching up the 3:30 Fastcast just a little bit for today, but our top story: 3 months after a Rockford woman is accused of a deadly hit and run, she turns herself into police. 23-year-old Pasha Davis-Farr faces several charges, including DUI and failure to report an accident involving a death. In May, Rockford police responded to the 3100 block of North Rockton Avenue. Officers say they found 47-year-old James Hughes dead after he was hit by a car. Authorities believe Farr was behind the wheel. She was later released under the Safety Act. Davis-Farr is expected to appear in court on September 23rd. Well, a hit and run in a separate incident involving an Amazon truck leads to a 24-year-old man facing several charges. Authorities were called around 2 Friday afternoon to Illinois Route 2 and North Kennedy Hill Road in Byron. Trey Woolsey is accused of hitting the Amazon truck while trying to pass it and left the area. 35-year-old Katrin Puckett is charged with driving under the combined influence of drugs and alcohol. DeKalb County deputies say before 8 Sunday night, Puckett was riding his motorcycle in the area of Saginaw and Phillips Road when he lost control. He was found on the side of the road, seriously hurt. Well, Rockford police arrest a 36-year-old man accused of trying to hijack a vehicle. Police say that a person claimed that Arcelis Davis Isaac walked up to them and told them to get out of the car. Police say the incident happened around 10:30 Sunday morning in the 3700 block of Louisiana Road. Now, the person got out of the vehicle with the key fob, and Isaac wasn't able to drive away. He was later taken into custody. 3 Rockford teens are in jail after police say they had illegal guns. There they are on your screen: 18-year-old Jeremiah Pipes, 19-year-old Darius Wynn, and 18-year-old Andre Whitaker all face weapons charges. Officers stopped a car after one Sunday morning in the area of Morgan and Church Streets. Police say 3 teens had concealed guns. They were later arrested. Well, to entertainment news now. Actress Hayden Panettiere dies at the age of 36. She was best known for playing Claire Bennett in Heroes and country star Juliette Barnes in Nashville. She also starred in movies including Remember the Titans and Bring It On, All or Nothing. Her father, Skip Panettiere, called Hayden an incredible light and a force of nature who brought the joy of those who knew her and watched her. Well, it is that time of the Fastcast to take a look at our 7-day forecast here. You know, we're feeling pretty good. It's about 80 degrees, sunny skies for today. Now, the big story is tomorrow, where there could be that chance of some showers in the evening, Tuesday evening into Wednesday. Chief Meteorologist Kira Miner will track out the hour-by-hour forecast when it comes to that. But throughout the rest of several days after that, we're sitting in the high 70s, partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy skies. And then by Friday, there is some chance of rain. Of course, the forecast could change between then and now, still sitting just around 80 degrees. But look at this. By the weekend, partly cloudy skies in the mid-70s. Looks like there's a little cool down there. And then as we look at the following next week, partly cloudy skies and 70s, maybe low 80s. Well, Monday marks the end of a 60-day moratorium of understanding between the U.S. and Iran, a short-term ceasefire that fell apart weeks ago and so far has not led to a more permanent peace deal. Now President Trump says Iran should wave the white flag and surrender, while Iran says it is prepared to go on the offensive. This comes as President Trump is reducing military exercises in South Korea. Nana St. Yobatsu has more from the White House.
This was not easy.
The 60-day memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran expires today with no long-term peace deal to replace it.
They want to make a deal, but they're not going to make the kind of a deal that I feel is necessary. Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Iran now says with the MOU expiring, it is prepared to go on the offensive in the Strait of Hormuz.
The Iranians broke out of it almost immediately by trying to block the straits.
President Trump is demanding the strait to be open and free, and he's threatening Oman over an agreement it may have reached with Iran over administration of the strait. The president says he is still willing to use the military to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but he is pulling the military back from drills deterring another country with an illegal nuclear weapons program. The president says he's scaling back joint military exercises with South Korea.
We have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran?
The president says the decision was made in part because of his relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
Why hasn't Kim Jong-un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
He says the annual event sends a, quote, hostile message to North Korea. Nana Cintio Bonsu, CBS News, the White House.
Well, last week, North Korea denounced the latest drills as a provocation that heightens tensions on the Korean peninsula. North Korea has now test-fired 2 ballistic missiles in recent weeks. Well, President Trump says he's in no rush to replace White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who plans on leaving at the end of the month. Sources at the White House say they could rely on a rotating cast of cabinet officials to handle briefings for an indefinite period. About a dozen possible candidates are said to be in the mix. To economic news now, Rockford gas prices rose 5 cents at the pump last week. That's according to AAA. The current average sits at $4.24 a gallon. Diesel prices also rose 20 cents to $5.38 per gallon. State prices also increased 7 cents, now sitting at $4.31 per gallon. Well, Zay's Classic Chicago Hot Dogs and Polish officially opens its doors Monday. The restaurant offers Chicago-style hot dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, Polish sausages, among other things. The family business started 4 years ago in a small trailer. They set up shop at 455 Southtown Drive in Belvidere.
History in the making. Today is definitely history in the making. You know, we've built something that is our own. It's unique, but everything that you see and that we do has been, you know, built by us. So we're hoping years to come that it can continue on, that we've built a legacy for our family.